Welcome back to the French Rugby Podcast with me, Tim Groves, ex-Scotland international and adopted Frenchman, Johnny BT. And we thought we'd ride the crest of the French Grand Slam wave for just a little bit longer and get yet another of France's Grand Slam winners on the show this week. So we'll bring him in very shortly. But you had another busy and tough weekend, Johnny. How's things?
Been a difficult week, mate. We touched on it last week, obviously with Federico Aramburu's passing last weekend in Paris. It was his funeral here in the southwest this weekend in Biarritz, and 1,500 people turned up to pay their respects to a wonderful man, to a man that wasn't from here but ended up becoming a part of here. I think that'd be fair to say. An Argentinian, very proud as well of his French nationality from the Pays Basque, and they absolutely loved him, and they turned up in massive droves to send him off properly. And it was incredibly beautiful yet tragic at the same time, if that makes sense. And the strength and the dignity of his family was quite remarkable and truly special. So now, again, moving forwards, which will be incredibly difficult for everybody, it's now rallying around his family, looking after them and all doing our parts. That's when the rugby fraternity kicks in. So hopefully there can be foundations, charities, and events coming together fairly soon and start fundraising. There are already Lecce pages in French. There are Just Giving pages in English. We'll put the links to all of those in our social brackets as well. So if you can give a little, that'll be massively appreciated by Fedi's family.
We will come on to the top 14 later on, but you went straight from there on the Saturday down to do Toulouse Lyon.
Yeah, it probably wasn't my smartest professional move. I think we finished in Biarritz maybe at 3-4 in the morning, and then got a flight up to Paris to do the Toulouse game. So it was actually good, again, to mark that moment with Fedi and then try and do something different and get on with professional work. But again, the Toulouse game, again, they've been through it as well with the Six Nations period, with losing players to the French national side, and the ovation that those players got when they came back to the stadium was absolutely incredible. So no, it was a huge game for Toulouse and good for them to get back into winning ways. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later with our guest. But again, another massive game of top 14 rugby, and it was good to be there and be part of it.
We will come on to chatting a bit about the top 14 later on, but let's not waste any time getting our latest Grand Slam winner on. We can have a chat now with Montpellier in France second row, Paul Willemse. How you doing?
Hi guys, no, doing well. Thank you very much.
Great to have you on. And you were back down to earth and back to the day job pretty quickly last week, captaining Montpellier, scoring a couple of tries. So we'll come to that bit later on, but take us back just over a week or so. Paris, what was it like becoming a Grand Slam champion?
Yeah, it's everything I thought it would be and more. Because as soon as I started playing for the French team and at my first Six Nations tournament, I was just like thinking it will be massive if I one day get the opportunity to win this tournament. And to arrive at that moment where the final whistle blows and we've done it, and it was just amazing. Like especially with the team that we have, it made it a bit more special. Like winning it with such an awesome team and staff, it was just amazing.
I know from the boys at Montpellier, you're a massive family man. So I'm not going to ask you to compare this to the birth of your kids, but was it the best day of your career?
Yeah, in my rugby career, this is definitely the best game, best win. Definitely the biggest.
And was it the biggest celebrations of your career as well?
Celebration, that was a bit difficult because we finished up really late after the game because it was a 9 o'clock game. We only arrived at the what do you call it, the party boat or whatever, at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I had my wife and my kids with me as well, so it was a bit difficult. And then we were so tired, so because I celebrated, I enjoyed my time on the field afterwards with the walking around and with the trophy and all that. So when I was finished with that, I was kind of tired, so I was like, it's gonna be difficult now to keep this going for a while. But then so it was just chill, but really enjoyed it in any case. But I didn't also had the responsibility of knowing that I have to come back to Montpellier the next day, get ready for another game.
Now, there's something to be said for taking your time and soaking it all up with your family. That's amazing. There's also something to be said for moving these games from 9 o'clock kickoffs because everyone's exhausted by the time you get there. It's crazy. Greg was also quite tight-lipped. He said everyone was exhausted, but there's obviously been a few things happening. Kuyu's ended up in the Seine with the trophy. Like, what's come out like on WhatsApp groups? Have you caught up with what everyone's been up to since then?
Yeah, not very much in a personal, because I think like every single player, when I got back to their clubs, they were like bombarded, with all the presidents and all the social media people from all the clubs want to start showcasing all the players, But yeah, no, I definitely, it's a big thing here in France with the trophy, where they're saying like trying to do investigation, what happened to the trophy and all that. So it was quite funny to have like a story like this with the trophy. But yeah, finally got the video footage of him jumping in the Seine with the trophy. That was quite funny. But yeah, no, there's a couple of guys that kept the party going the next Sunday as well, all day. And so yeah, that was quite. I think it's quite a good story with everything. But during this last week, everybody just got back, and most of the players played with their clubs. So I think they also stayed back in and working, doing the job again.
And you mentioned how special it was winning it with this particular group. You've obviously forged a real bond between you, and you were favourites going into the Six Nations. I just wonder how much of that favourites tag, because people are talking about the World Cup next year already, obviously throwing your name in there as one of the favourites for that. How much do you speak about that pressure of being favourites and almost embracing it?
Yeah, we kind of had a little bit of a taste of it during the whole Six Nations. Whereas before we were always like a little bit of the underdogs and like trying to show if we're really the team that we think we are. But then this Six Nations, from the start, after we won against Ireland, I think that was like, okay, France is the favourite now. Let's see if they can do it. So we kind of knew, like every team we played against throughout the sentence, no, France is the favourite, so we would like to win them. And so we kind of had a little bit taste of it. And I must say, didn't have a massive impact in our preparations, all that we were aware of it. And especially with the last game against England, I think the pressure lifted a lot, and you could feel that the players are comfortable and so on, but everybody knew like there's a pressure on us because we're so close now and we expected to win and all of that. But I think we handled it well, and I think it will definitely help us in the same preparation for the World Cup.
I want to pick up on a word that you used there. I was about to use the word comfortable. In that when I watch you guys play, you look extremely comfortable together. So I wanted to ask you about the tactics and the coaching setup that you have, whether it's Vlok, Shaun, Fabian. Like, you're very pragmatic, mature, you've got good set piece, defense, and attacking pieces all come together. So does it feel like you all know your roles, the game plan, everyone's bought into it, and it's just clicking for you? Because from an outside perspective, it just looks like comfortable, at ease on the pitch with each other.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, I believe, each staff member is like a specialist in their zone and like one of the best in the world at their job. Like, you're going from Karim with the lineouts, Willemse with the scrums and normal combat situations, Shaun Edwards and all that. Every single guy has like a passion for their section of the game, and like when they get their chance to do their video sessions and stuff, like you kind of feel that passion and that certain like high level mentality that kind of rubs off on each player. Whereas you, in every single zone, there's like something special and where you feel like, I need to do this because the expectation is really high. And then, especially with Shaun Edwards, that just kind of changed our mentality towards defense, where I think normally defense is defense and nobody, it's fine, you need to do or be careful not to get done on certain places and all that. But he kind of came and, because he's so passionate about defense, he came and changed and rubbed off on us, changed our mentality. Like, no, we're going to use this defense as an attack as a weapon. And that's exactly with that's what I think with all this stuff, it really works well because expectations are high, and then the quality of coaching that we get is like the best.
You mentioned Shaun there. it might be hard, aside from the passion, which is clear for everyone to see. It might be hard to put your finger on exactly what makes him such a good defense coach, but try if you can to tell the world what makes him so good. And also, he picked you out, didn't he, as one of a couple of players to be responsible for laying down the law to your teammates when it comes to physicality, winning the game line. So give us an idea of what that job entails as well.
That's exactly it. But I'm a bit biased towards the defensive coaches because it's one thing that I really like in my style of rugby. So with him, like we got on really well from the start because obviously I could speak with him in English from the start when he was still struggling a bit with his French. We got on really well. But the thing that makes him special is just, like I said, his passion about defense. And yes, you can come on, but the thing about defense is you can be really technical, and you can have all these technical stuff and game plans and all that, how you're going to handle certain situations. But at the end of the day, if you don't have that willingness or that passion to really make a statement every time you defend, then like it's just going to be a defense like every other team, and it's never going to be something special. So what I feel like what he does is like he really lifts, he shows his passion about defense, and then he gets everybody around him excited about defense. And as soon as he started, like I think it was a little bit of a shock for most of the players, because his expectation on defense was like, normally you're doing an attacking drill and then you defensive drill and you switch off a little bit on defense because you're just going through the drills. But with him there, like there's no switching off, because he will let you know when he's not happy. So he just got everyone excited about defense and made it like a real thing to be proud of, like when we defended well. And he made sure like to show those clips of the games that we defended well, and it's like started being like a big characteristic of our team now.
It's massive. I caught up with him on the plane after the game down to Perpignan. And we just chatted for half an hour. Shaun's like, you just chat rugby. He loves chatting rugby. But he was saying, like you said, it's almost like he's unlocked a passion, because he felt like the nuts and bolts were always there. He was talking about like Gail Fiku, and he was like, the guy's an absolute freak. And he was like, look at how many people in my team can jackal. Everyone can jackal. Everyone can dominate collisions. It's just unlocking that passion. That seems to be what he's done. You can see the energy and the buzz that you have, and now both sides of the ball. That's what makes it so hard to play against this French side. How much do you enjoy being part of that system, being part of those performances? Because it looks like from the outside, when you're looking in, you see the fun people are having, you're lifting each other off the ground after these big collisions and turnovers. It looks like you're having the time of your life. Yeah,
no, I must say, like, I would never have thought, like, I would like at my age now, like I'm turning 30 this year. And like when I was a youngster, I would have never thought like I would enjoy my rugby as I'm doing now, like at my age. When I was a youngster, you always think, no, this is rugby. I'm just playing, and people would talk about you like, no, you're gonna gain more experience and all that. And like what is experience? Like, I'm good now, so let's go, And talking about defense, I actually was a way bigger defensive player when I was younger. When I was a bit more crazier, so it's kind of always been in my pocket. But it's only now, again, in the later part of my career, that I've reignited that love for defense again with this team, because that's the thing with the French team. Like this weekend at Montpellier, I had like 13 ball carries and I scored tries and stuff. But in the French team, people ask me, like, friends and rugby supporters, no, why don't you carry the ball at the French team? Like, but like all the forwards are ball carriers at the French team. Like, everybody's like so hungry to get a ball carrier in the French team. It's like, I'm like, no, so they don't need me there as much as a ball carrier, but I could be there in defense, because that will benefit the team way more than just adding another massive ball carrier. So I'm enjoying it so much. And the big thing now is like getting the recognition a little bit, I'm getting seen now, and people talking, because I've always played a real physical game. But you know how rugby is, it's all about opinions and what's being said and so on. It's so I've always played like the physical game, but now I'm in a situation where people actually realize it now, and also I'm getting the respect of my teammates in the French team, and in the staff. And it's really rare where you really feel the confidence from your staff, from all the staff members and all your teammates. And that kind of gives me a massive energy when I'm playing on the field, because as I know, all my teammates love it when I make a big hit, and the staff love it. And that just gives me so much energy. So yeah, that's why I enjoy it so much at this moment.
And you mentioned that respect and recognition. We had Greg Aldrett on last week, and you get no bigger respect or recognition than this. He was up for Six Nations Player of the Championship. He said, I think Paul Willemse should win it.
No, but that's exactly like, and it's the same way. And the thing is, I feel that respect and that from every single teammate in a team. And it's the same because I respect them as well, a massive amount. And that's what I think that makes us, our team so special, is that we respect each other and we live from each other's energy. You know, like if Anton Dupont does something amazing, like everybody's on it, like ready to go. And if Gregory has a massive carry, everybody jumps on that energy. If I make a big tackle, everybody jumps on it, because like it kind of feels like everybody gives each other their space to do what they can do, and nobody has a bad any like you said, bad thoughts or bad feelings because someone's doing good. Like it's like no, he did this, okay, well let me go as well. Like, so we feed off each other, and there's like a general respect in that team. That's incredible.
Yeah, it seems to be the positivity is breeding positivity across the board. And again, you could reflect your specialized coaching positions in almost specialized player positions. Again, you contrast the second row pairing. You've been in there with Big Cameron Waukee. Can you give us a little word on him? A guy that's just moved to second row recently, a massive impact on the line out, but you complement each other so well. So what's it been like packing down with him?
Yeah, no, I've said now for a while, if people ask me about like second line, I tell people now that in today's rugby, there's only one lock left. The other one is a Lucy. So we've got, in today's rugby, we've got 4 Lucies on the field and only one lock. So I make this joke all the time. And it's exactly that. Like he came in from playing Lucy, coming in at second rower. And then the only adjustment he really had to make is like pushing in the scrum and maybe not be as open in the play of the scrum, but I think he really adapted really well. And then the cool thing is as well, like he never once like had a bad attitude because he's not playing his position that he usually does. And I can imagine normally that would be a massive change for a player. Like if you had just, you had your dreams, you want to be a Lucy for the French team, and then they say, no, you can. How about you play lock? And that's the thing, is like this team is so special. Like he, without a doubt, like without even a hesitation, he said, yeah, I'm in, like, let's do it. And he's been working hard and all that. So like I've got lots of respect for him, because I know like I think lock is probably the least enjoyable position to play on the field because you're in everything and you're expected to run like everyone. No, I can just imagine for him it wasn't easy to make that mental shift. Okay, they want me to play lock, but he's amazing. He's doing an awesome job, and he showed it like in all Six Nations. And I think for the team to have that extra weapon as an attacker and with his speed and using him as a line-out caller, it completes the team.
Least enjoyable position, but hardest working, so should be the highest paid, right?
Well,
speak to Moed.
Well, I think every guy would say like their position should be the highest paid, but no, it's in terms of like you're expected to push and scrum like a prop and then run like a Lucy, and like you inside be as tough as a prop, and but be as like intelligent as some of the Lucies, and it's just, and then you like in every single combat situation, they like the line-out drives, the scrums, rucks, you in it all.
And that's developed presumably since you started playing there as well. So have you had to evolve as well in terms of your size, your playing weight, the things that you're being asked to do with this front side? It's evolved presumably your position over the years.
Yeah. So with us in the team, they kind of use the big theme of our team is really to use each player on their strengths to So like if you look at our lineouts, for example, like there would some places be like I would be a lifter instead of jumping on the fence, because we've got players that their strengths are jumping in the air, like getting up in the air. So even though I can do it, my strength is lifting and then coming down to set up a good maul or a maul defense. So what we've done really well is through the whole team, like if you're in a position, you are there, and they organize everything towards your strengths. When I started with the old generation, the old staff, and that I came in, I was a little bit heavier than I am now. And when I played my first game, obviously no experience, and felt a little bit late everywhere. And then my first thought was, I think I'm too heavy. I need to lose more weight. Because I lost weight for the first game, and then I played and I saw, wow, no, I'm still not feeling up for it. I need to lose more. So then I did, lost a bit more weight, and then I came back, and that's when we started with Fabian, that first tournament. So I think a mixture with that, and then them giving me confidence by saying, listen, Paul, we're not going to talk about you are too slow or your shortages. We're going to talk about your strengths. We want you to carry the ball. We want you to make your big hits. We want you there in the scrums and the line-out drives. And then that started giving me more and more confidence, saying, okay, well, they're not like normal coaches going to chat about my weaknesses and steal all your confidence. Now they're going to hammering on what I want to do, what I do good. And then that just gives you more the ability, like, okay, now I want to do more. So what do I need to do? So yeah, it's a mixture of stuff, but I think the big role of the big lock in the team, it's still the basic role, like just there to hurt people and to go forward.
It's an important role. Sell it up, upsell it. It's a massive role. I wanted to ask you more about Fabian. He was my coach in Montpellier, and he's the best coach I got the chance to work with during 16 years rugby. I loved working with him. He was tough on some people, but as you just mentioned, it was task-based, it was rugby-focused, and basically you did what you said, it opened up doors, and you'd go through and score tries. Like, it was really simple. So for you, a little bit more in the detail, the simplification of tasks, how do you find Fabian to work with, and how do you find the detail in his rugby? Because I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, what I think what he did well is like he got a good coaching staff around him. So I think, because I've also, like, that people talk about, especially in Montpellier, that everybody has something to say about him because of how he coached in Montpellier. But when I got to the French team, like, it was like you said, it was more close to what I've experienced in South Africa, where the rugby coaching is really direct and straightforward and simple and like really specific. Like with each, where you're going, like 3 phases after a launch, exactly where you are, each number. It's really technical, like, when I came to the top 14, like, it was like a bit of this notion, no, just play. Just
but how?
You must feel it. You will feel it when you need to go, So when I got there, I was like, it's really, I felt at home when they like made it a bit more specific and strict and so on. So with his coaching staff around him, which have a little bit of the same mentality towards that, like the small details and stuff, I think it works really well. But yeah, like you said, like, it's for French rugby, I think this is the most specific and strategized coaching staff that you will get in France.
You mentioned South Africa there. Obviously, looking at you now, fully entrenched in Montpellier, been in France since 2015. You're a full-blown Frenchman now, but you obviously did grow up wanting to play for the Springboks. How difficult a decision was it, winding the clock back, to switch allegiance? And am I right in saying you were pretty conflicted even when you made your debut? It was an emotional day, obviously, but those emotions almost caught you by surprise.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, because that's where I think people get it wrong most of the time, because they like always propose it like it was a choice I made. between going to South Africa or France, but it was never like that. Like I came to France firstly just to gain a bit more experience, because I wasn't selected in a massive squad that was preparing the World Cup, I think in 2015 with Heineken Meyer. So I wasn't selected in like a group of 80 players. And then I thought, well, rather than playing again in the Super Rugby and Currie Cup for another 2 years, an opportunity came to me to go and play in France. And I thought, well, it's only a year and a half. I'll go and do that and come back and then prepare for the next World Cup with a new coach or whatever. So I said, well, let's do it. And then when I got here, played at Grenoble first for 6 months. And then Jake White, he came to me and he said, listen, if you want to come to Montpellier, because at the same time, he signed like 3 of my friends that played with me at the Bulls. And then I said, well, if my friends are there and stuff, like, because I enjoy top 14 rugby. Like, that's from the first game, I felt, okay, this is my type of rugby. Like, the Super Rugby was way too quick for me. Like, every game in the Super Rugby I played, I'm like, geez, how am I going to do this for 10 years, bro? Like, this is unbelievable. I can't do this. Like, every game felt like I'm dying. So when I came to top 14, I'm like, no. This I can do for a few years. This I can do. So I enjoyed the top 14. So when Jake White came to me, I'm like, okay, yes, sweet. It's a South African coach. And then a few of my friends and stuff will be there. So I went. And then slowly, I got news, but still had the dream, played for South Africa. And then slowly got the news now, South Africa's not going to choose any foreign-based players. And I was like, oh, that's like a hit in the gut. Like, what am I going to do? Because now in my career, I've really enjoyed French rugby, and I'm not going to go back playing club rugby in South Africa, because like, top 14, that's where I'm at. And then slowly building my life in France, got my first child was born. My boy was born. And then I started laying down a little bit more roots in France and saying, like, I'm not going, but I still have this dream for the Springboks. But then it was a little while after my boy was born, I was like, no, it doesn't look like this South African team thing is going to work. Let's just throw something out there and see if the coaching staff of the French team if they are keen. And started talking to them. And then and I got excited, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and go for the French. I want to play international rugby. My life's in France. I'm going to go for it. And then a few months after, the whole coaching staff got fired from the French team, and they changed, like, how to start from zero again, But yeah, fast forward to my first cap. For me, like I said the other day, I was having another interview, and I said when I sang that first Marseillaise for my first game, for me, that was a massive moment emotionally, because I knew at that moment I had to shut down a childhood dream that I've had, like my whole life, playing for the Springboks, like every South African boy. And I knew, like, the single moment I go out on that field, it's done, it's finished. I can never do that again. But taking the risk by saying, like, but going with the French team, and then opening possibly another massive door for things that I don't know, that I don't know, possibilities that I don't know. And luckily I did, because at the moment I'm really happy, and I've never regretted my choice to play for the French team ever.
It's been an amazing journey already. And you talked about being one of the old guys, age 30, and I nearly fell off my chair. 30.
But see, the professional rugby, the players are getting in younger, bro. Like,
exactly. But at the same time, like you just mentioned, that childhood dream is finished, but now you're living another dream, which looks incredible. You're having an amazing time, but there's a real possibility that France could square off against South Africa in 2023. That's a possibility, right? Or further down the track. So emotionally there, having closed and turned that page on the South African dream, how would it feel, be it a World Cup or in future months or in November Test series? How would it be? Obviously, your family's still very much South African back home. They come over and visit all the time Montpellier. It must be an amazing yet emotional fixture to look forward to when it happens.
Yeah, no, actually, we are playing them this November. I know that because it's going to be...
You've looked ahead.
No, that's because yeah, it's exactly like most of the players there I've played with or against when I was in South Africa, and with the same with the SA under 20 team. There's a few players that played with me in the SA under 20 team when we won the World Cup in 2012. So they know me and I know them. And then in the Super Rugby and Currie Cup, I played against all of them and they played against me. So I don't know what emotional state I will be in or like what will happen, but I know it's not gonna be just another match. Like it will be a special one for me. So I got it's been in my back of my mind, but I know the way my South African culture, the way I know is like same in the top 14, when you play against other South Africans, we play even harder because, you kind of want to win that respect. So I know for a fact that I will be up for that game.
Jeez, we'll all be wincing in November, Johnny.
Yes. Ready for it already.
For me, it will be a special game, and because also there will be a kind of vibe around it, especially for me playing like a South African playing against the South African team. But I know the guys know me there, and I've put in a few big hits on a few of those players, so they know me.
And just quickly, you mentioned that obviously Heineken Meyer left you out of that squad initially, and then you had conversations before you made your France debut with the French coaching staff about putting your name out there. So presumably around that time, you also had more conversations with the SARU or the coaching staff over there saying, I'm here if you want me. And presumably the answer was no, like you say, unless you come back to South Africa, you're not being considered.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I've never had even one conversation with South African rugby in my whole career. Like, that's why I say, like, nobody ever, like, I was in the media here, it came out that I'm potentially going to play for the French team, and then you'd expect, like, if he was available, somebody would contact me and say, listen, or my agent at least say, listen, tell Paul to maybe just wait a bit or whatever. But like I said, when I started the journey, and it's a long journey because later on they changed the rule that I had to do my passport first. So I did that as well, and that's a long process. But yeah, through my whole career, like, I never had one single conversation with SA Rugby or anyone. So at the end, like, I was kind of led into my French career, like, because that's why I say, like, that's what it means when I say I've never like had to make a choice, either South Africa or the French team. It's like my life just went that direction, and the choice I had to make was like to say, to commit, okay, listen, I'm going to go for the French team with everything I've got, and then But yeah, as soon as I made that decision, I said, okay, well, doesn't matter what happens now, even if South Africa contacts me now, like the day I made the commitment that I'm going to go for it, I said, okay, now I'm committed, I'm going to go for it. So even though they didn't speak to me, if they did, in any case, like the year before, I would have still said no, like, because it was important for me. But yeah, they never spoke with me, so I never had a conversation with them.
Idiots. They're lost. French rugby's game.
On that note, like, I had one interview, in any case, where they asked me about it, and then I actually said in the interview, but the thing is with South Africa is actually they are so blessed with massive amounts of talents on the lock position. Like, it never felt like they needed me, because they have like 4 or 5 massive locks, world-class locks. And then I said in the interview, like, South Africa doesn't need me, but I also don't need them,
Yes, nice.
That pissed off a few people.
I was going to say, I can see that headline now, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the process of coming into a French squad. So obviously living in France and learning French, there's histories of South Africans like working their way down around international rugby teams all over the world. Like, I'm Scottish, a few guys I played with, absolute legends. And then in France, you've had obviously Peter de Villiers, Rory Cockett, Scott Spedding, a long line. But is it a little bit more difficult? Because I've always felt, when South Africans coming in and integrating, and it's easy because most the sort of English either is their first or second language. Then I always figured with France, with the language barrier, maybe a more cultural barrier as well. Did you find it more difficult at first integrating into the French national setup, or was it easy straight from the off?
No, it's kind of difficult because, like for me, it was really difficult. Like for me personally, it was really difficult. But the problem is, even if you explain it to the French players or the French coaching staff and stuff, they would never really understand what you're going through, you know, because there's like these small details, small things that makes it really difficult. But I kind of saw it like this is the sacrifice you need to make, you know, like because I'm sure like if I played with I was actually talking about this with one of my friends the other day, and because he was seeing that we invited some French singers and so on to come to our camp, and then we have like an hour discussions with them. And it's like, oh, so do you know those singers and do you know the songs? And because like everyone's like singing together, and I told them, well, no, like I didn't grow up like these guys. I wasn't had the same childhood as them and grew up with certain film stars or singers and so on. So I'm sitting there in the meeting room, and everyone's like they're talking about these things that I don't have a cooking clue about, and they're singing these songs, and I'm like, I'm so keen to take part. Like I want to be a part of this, but like you kind of feel left out. But that's the thing. Like I had to, like when I made my choice to play for the French team, I knew like, listen, this is not going to be the same like as if you play for the Springboks, where like everybody grew up like you understand you understand the background, and you take part in all these little small things and enjoy it in another way. So I knew like this, it's going to take some sacrifices. It's not going to be the same way. But for me in the French team, like I knew without a doubt that all the players respect me, even though I fall a bit short with these things that I've missed. But I never feel like I needed to have some sort of recognition or something like that. So yeah, it's frustrating sometimes for me not to be able to take part in every single thing in the team, and I feel like I miss out sometimes. But I see it as my sacrifice I need to make to be a part of this team, and I'm happy to do it. But it is difficult. It's really difficult because it's all these small things and you can't explain it. Like you're telling to someone, no, I didn't feel it bothered me that I couldn't sing the same songs, you know, like if you in a team, they won't understand it. Like, what you mean is no, man, that was just a song, but it means something different. Like it means something, but it's just one of those things you can't have your bread buttered on both sides.
And you mentioned your upbringing being different, obviously, and that being difficult. We do want to look ahead rather than look back. But the last time to look back, I read, is this right, that when you were a kid, you refused to wear a replica Springbok jersey, be in the tunnel at Loftus Versfeld, that kind of thing, because you were like, I want to do it for real for the first time?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like that's one of my cool things that happened to me when I was younger. Like I played for Namibia, so my parents split up. My mom grew up in Namibia, so I went back to Namibia, lived with her, and then I played there. And then we did a tour in South Africa. So when I grew up, I stayed in South Africa, went to Namibia for 1 year, and then went back. So when I grew up in South Africa, like the Bulls were my team. Victor Matfield was my idol. Like the Bulls was everything for me, and that was like my ticket. Bro, I'm gonna play for the Bulls today. So when I was 17, we had a camp, and we had a tour. We came to Pretoria, and then we did like a small, like a tourist visit of Loftus, of the stadium and all that. And then we went in there, and we went into the locker rooms, and like for me, we went into the locker room as a tourist, and I was there and I was feeling so uncomfortable. I'm like, no, this feels like sacred. Like I was even mad that the other teammates of my school team were like in this locker room. I was like, no, this is not right. Like I felt uncomfortable. And I was like, no, this must be sacred, because they were like so big in my head, like this Bulls team, like they were awesome. And then we got out and we were walking down a tunnel to go onto the field. And then I just said, no, I'm not going to spoil this as well. And I said, no, for myself, no, I want the first time that I run out of this tunnel to be when I play for the Bulls the first time. So I had to walk around the whole stadium to come in from side entrance, and I did. So I ran around because I didn't want the guys to see that they will think I'm crazy or whatever. So I ran around, come from the other side, and nobody actually noticed. And I sat there and listened to the tourists and all that, and then we finished. We went the other way, and then surely enough, the first time I ran out of the tunnel is when I played for the Bulls a few years later, and then it was really special for me, because I knew back I made that. It's a small thing, and I don't think for other people it might be stupid, but for me there was I'm gonna do this. And it's the same with the jersey. I've never wore a supporters jersey in my life for the Bulls or the Springboks. And then the first time I wore the Springbok jersey was for the under-20s when I played. And then it's the same with that. It's just a small thing, but that's exactly what I did.
I imagine that's very similar to you, Johnny?
Yeah, the exact same.
You probably grew up in the Murrayfield Tunnel and with Scotland
somewhere
jerseys all over
I was
the place.
sneaking my way in. I was trying to sneak cigarettes. I was doing everything wrong. I was just a bad egg. But there we go.
And just quickly, you mentioned your break in France was Grenoble. We had Bernard Jackman on not so long ago, and he was your coach there, wasn't he? How did you like Bernard?
Yeah, well, that kind of time in my career is such a blur, because I got to France, I understood nothing, no French at all. Basically, my life was just going to training and then going home, and then maybe going to a restaurant and then back. I couldn't participate in a lot of things. It was first, the first few months here is the toughest in France. Adapting and all that. So I only spent 6 months there, and it was the winter, and it's the first time in my life that I saw the snow, and it was everywhere, bro. It was white. I couldn't believe it. But then started the first game. Bernard Jack was like, "No, Paul, listen, you're gonna start this weekend. We're playing against Toulon at Mayol, so be ready." And I was like, okay, I'm ready. Looking at the team, and then you got John Smith, Bakkies Botha, all those guys. I'm like, oh, okay, this is top 40 now. Let me go. Then he let me lose that first game, and I played well. And it was also a massive moment for me, that first game, playing. So during the game, I had one moment where I tackled John Smith, and I gave him a proper tackle, taking him backwards, a signature tackle. And then after the game, because John Smith, Bakkies Botha is my heroes as well. And then after the game, I get those two. I walk up to them, just want to shake their hands and say, thank you guys. It's awesome to play against you. And then John Smith is like, yes, bro, you can't kill us old guys like that. Hey, and then Bakkies Botha's like, yeah, I told you about it before the game. I told you must be careful. He can smoke you. And then
that must have been awesome.
Oh, bro, that was the best feeling I've ever had. Best compliment ever, to have these two legends talk about me like that. And that was my first taste in it. And then I was like, okay. And then with Bernard Jackman, with Bernard, it went on. Played well. He gave me a lot of compliments and stuff. And when I started playing, he just told me, listen, I like your attitude, like your aggressivity. So I also got a lot of compliments from him while I was playing. And I was just a bit sad that I had to, because at the end, it was me that broke up my contract with Grenoble to go to Montpellier. But at that time, I just got married. And it was the first time, me and my wife, we got married, and then the next day we left for Grenoble. So it was difficult for her. She did her studies, and when I got there, now she's doing nothing because she was studying accounting. And now she couldn't use a degree or nothing. So, and then we didn't have lots of friends. We were still a young couple, and the other South Africans that were there were really old. So we were friends with Albertus Buckle, also a South African player, and his family. And then they left the next season. So it started being difficult for my wife. And then it's like, that was like my first big decision I had to make as a husband or a family guy now, is not just to think about myself, but I had to think about my wife as well. So then, it happened. They wanted me to stay, obviously.
It's a cool honeymoon destination, Grenoble. Not many South Africans go there for honeymoon. The very next day, you've never seen snow. Here you go.
Yeah. No, I always joke with my wife. I tell her I told her, no, what do you mean we didn't have a honeymoon? I took you to France. Like, you've been on a honeymoon for 7 years now.
And mate, so obviously it's worked out for the best. Like Montpellier now, you seem settled. The team is flying compared to where you were last season. A little bit of difficulty. Philippe Saint-André's come in and salvaged the club, it would seem. So what's the difference been, and how good a job has he done as a new head coach?
Yeah, no, the problem I think with our club for a long time was that we changed coach every 2 years, and then because we didn't have a position like we have now with the director of rugby, that Philippe Saint-André is playing now. So it meant like every time the coach got fired or left, like the whole system, the whole rugby identity, everything left as well. There wasn't somebody that stayed that had like a long-term plan, so it meant like every 2 years we have to restart, and a new coach comes in, and then he brings in a few of his players, and he has his rugby identity and mentality. And then it takes 1 year to adapt, and in the second year it's tough. And then, the pressure of the top 14 and all that. So with Philippe Saint-André, when he came in, I think the best thing that he's done is his recruitment. Like he's done some really good signings for the team. And he's starting to make sure like we're not just buying the stars, but we're buying the players in the positions that we need actually for the team, and not just just because it's a massive player.
Is that quite similar to the France setup then, in a way, where Philippe Saint-André is like the Fabien Galtier, and then you've got his specialist sort of coaches underneath, and he oversees everything?
Yeah, but I think with Fabien, he's a bit more hands-on. Philippe Saint-André, he's guiding a bit more from a distance, because now with our coaching staff, we've got Olivier Azamba, who's plays forwards coach, and then Jamba Alizé, that's doing the backs. So they're working together now, and then we've got him from a little bit off distance. He's not like as hands-on during the week. He's more available in games and bigger decisions. And so far it's been working really well. But I think as well, like, because we've got a core group that went through those difficult times together, it's made the team also quite tight. And there's also no more talking about too many foreigner players or South Africans in the team and all that, because your people like to throw that in our faces, like when Jake was there and just after Jake.
And looking back over those different staffs, you had Jake White, then you had Vern Cotter, Xavier Garbajosa, Philippe's come in, and like you said, it's almost weird when you have a core group that's been through the mill and they just crave a bit of stability, and they think, right, we've got a decent coaching team in, let's stick with this and let's perform. You mentioned the names, so Olivier Ozam, Jean-Baptiste Elissalde, Bruce Rehana's in there as well, isn't he?
Bruce, yes, Bruce is there as well.
Could you give us a little insight into the different personalities and the different responsibilities they have in terms of specifics within the squad? And
then we also have Alex Ruiz, the top 40.
Of course,
yes. Referee turned defense coach, right?
Yes, yeah. So that's so we've got Olivier Zam that's more like with the forwards, the scrums, lineouts, forward attacking play, we might say. And then we've got Chamba that's a bit, backs, a little bit kicking game, and also in the beginning he did more defense, now a bit less. And then we've got Bruce, that's like a skills coach now for us. It's like general skills, for the backs, kicking, passing, or for us all. For that. And then we've got Alex Ruiz, who's more about the breakdown zone. So like stealing, clearing out, doing also like tackling, stuff like that. So so we've got a good mix. And like I said, it works well enough. But I think a big part of it is, like you said, is the team really. I think in Montpellier, we've never been as tight as we are now as a team. And we've went through some really difficult times. So now, it's awesome playing now with this team, because now in the past we would always lose a game, like in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes would fall off, and now it kind of feels like now we go to bring out the games from the depths there at the last 20 minutes and go, and that always means something special if a team is able to do that and not just give up. So we've got something special. Still need some polishing, and by that will come by time. And hopefully we've got a few players that are coming back as well from injury, and that we've lost big names. So hopefully we can use that momentum for the end of the season.
You mentioned Alex Ruiz there. As a big second row enforcer, be honest with us. When you heard a referee was coming in to coach you, what did you think?
Yeah. No, I definitely was like, no, just see how this goes. But I'm not all in yet, but I need to see what's to have a chat here, because it might be my chance to get all my frustrations of referees out on him first few training sessions.
You can't, bro. Now that you're a captain, you can't behave like that anymore. And we mentioned right at the start that you won this weekend over Biarritz, and you captained Montpellier for the first time. How big an honour for you was that? After being in France now for a few years, captaining the side for the first time, how much did that mean to you? Alongside everything that's happened recently with the French side, how much did that mean? And do you think it will make you a better player?
Yeah, no, for me, it was one of the biggest honors for me in my French career. Like it's up there as one of the best things, because it's been a while that I've played for this team, and like for me, I feel like I've sacrificed a lot for this team, and I've always been here and always giving it my all through everything that went through this club. And I'm one of the few players left that really went through everything. You know, I just didn't experience Fabien Galtier, but after that, like, I went through everything, and then for me it's special. And it was really frustrating in a one part where we had lots of South Africans in the team, and then they put me in the same box as like all the South Africans, or they put all the South Africans in the same box, but I was there like making a massive effort with my language. I was there like considering playing for the French team, wanting to build my family, like really committed, and it kind of didn't got seen because with all the South Africans that were there. So and then as well, you can't build a relationship with the coaching staff if it changes every 2 years, you know. And that was also difficult. So when new coach comes, they kind of forget about everything you've already done for the club, because it starts when they start. So for me to be captain, it's like, because I can't even explain it. After the game, they asked me the same question, and I got a little bit of emotional when they asked me the question, because for me it's such a great honor to be the coach of the team. And then, like, for me personally, I love having a responsibility, and I love having people relying on me, because I know, like, I want to show my whole team, like, it doesn't matter what happens, like, don't worry, Paul will be there, he'll be up for it. So yeah, that's massive.
And so far, you've got 100% win record as captain. My old captain of Montpellier is also retiring at the end of the year. Fufu, he's hanging up his boots. So would you stick your hand up? Would you like to do the job on a permanent basis?
Yeah, definitely. The thing that just makes it difficult is, like, every time I leave for the French team, I'm not there with the club. And that was kind of the difficulties a bit earlier with the new coaching staff that we spoke about, and when they start talking about me in a leadership position, that's why they cornered a little bit. They asked other players to captaincy as well, because they said, listen, we love you to be there, but it's going to be difficult if you're not part of the whole thing and so on. So that makes it a bit difficult, but like I'm all in. Like for me, it will be if I'm captain, doesn't matter for how long or whatever, it will be the biggest honor for me to be the captain, and I'll take that responsibility 100%. But if I'm not, I'm still going to do my job.
And how did you find out you were going to be captain? You mentioned how much of an honor it is. Did Philippe make a big gesture of it? And also, Johnny mentioned it was a big win, 100% record as captain so far, but you were 22-14 down at half-time. Yeah. You scored a couple of tries yourself, so leading by example. But what was that half-time speech like? You're first as skipper, you're losing 22-14. How'd it go?
Yeah. No, for me, it was just... like obviously it's a bit more stress when you do your first like professional game as captain. Like it's something new, so you kind of get, with your experience, you kind of get like in the rhythm of things. And now like a top 14 game for me, it's not as big as it was in the beginning, you know. So I prepare and I'm up for it, but I don't get stressed. I don't get, you know, like but now as a captain, it's something new. So I got a little bit of those butterflies that you haven't had in a long time. We got that back. So we started the game, and then everything went south. And I was like, okay, no, this is not a start I was hoping for. But yeah, Philippe just in the beginning of the week came up to me and says, okay, Paul, listen, you've been like the combat leader or whatever, vice captain a few times now, but we want you to be the captain this weekend. Really proud. And I said, yeah, okay, I'm up for it. But yeah, the start of the game didn't go as planned. And then halftime, well, I just knew, like, for me, an important thing was just to not change what I've been doing, like not to start now trying to give the biggest Braveheart speech I can of my career. Like, you know, like I said, no, just stick to the simple stuff. Just be like I like to stay neutral and not get emotional, because I feel like if you get emotional, you're gonna lose the plot and then make mistakes, and you're not as clear-headed. So I try to stay neutral, just with the simple stuff. But obviously, Philippe and Andre, he was having a go at the guy, so I let him do his thing. And then when we got out, I said, like, okay, we know what we need to fix. Let's go do it. But then I knew as well, like, we kind of had a massive bench coming on second half. So I was like kind of relying on them to come and bring a little bit more energy and stuff to fix the game. So luckily, so I was looking at the highlights of the game, and I was first half, I was in it. I could see, like, every time I concentrated, and then when we scored, I think the second last try, you could see me like, now I'm smiling a bit. You're seeing, okay, no, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right.
It all works out in the end. And just quickly before we let you go, Perpignan on away this weekend. So you skipper again, or are you getting a rest after a big Six Nations period and ahead of a big home and away clashes against Quins in Europe, of course?
Yeah, no rest for me yet. So no, I'll probably play again. I'll probably play again this weekend, and probably be the captain again this weekend. So if I look at things, but no holiday yet, so still need to grind a little bit more. Hopefully I'll get some off days in the coming weeks. But I saw with the Champions Cup, we'll see how that goes. Maybe it'll be a weekend available that we will use. But yeah, no. Like I said, there's only 5 games left. There's only 5 games left of the top 14, and we've kind of have like our team's objectives of how many points we want to reach with these last games to stay at the top of the league. So that's our objective, and we need to achieve that. But yeah, that's the rugby. Yeah, there's always an objective. There's always something to work towards.
No rest for the wicked, but massive congratulations on a huge few weeks. Grand Slam, captaincy, taking over from Fufu next year, according to Johnny. And thanks ever so much for coming on and telling us all about it. Cheers, Paul.
Thank you very much, guy. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot, mate. Legend. Catch you soon.
Cheers, guys. Cheers.
How good was that to have Paul on? And very honest. Not obviously, we think of him as a fully fledged Frenchman now, even though we know his past, but very honest about fitting in.
Really admirable candor. It's not every day you'll get that. And it must be difficult. I've always thought that, like even coming to Scotland or going to Ireland is difficult. But I've always thought the language barrier and the cultural barriers because of the language must make it so hard. And so, yeah, I can picture him sitting in those meetings. And again, some of that, like the actor they had is really famous. He's a massive French rugby fan, Jean Dujardin, who's been in like The Artist and loads of different things in English as well. But if you haven't been around him growing up, you wouldn't know. The singer was Francis Cabrel. And I only know that because Fufu, who was my captain at Montpellier, made me listen to his song after way too much wine one night in Montpellier. So like there was no way you would get these cultural references if you hadn't grown up here. But amazing to see, again, how he's grown in his journey over time, but also how he's grown into the role. Like he's an absolute, like we overuse it, enforcer, like a backies, but that's what he is. The physicality and what he brings now to this French team and Montpellier in a leadership role. He's just been exceptional. So great to have him on. Lovely big guy, but really appreciate his honesty. But now clearly fitted in, and he's doing so well. Grand Slam winner. Yeah, he's cracked it. He's done all right.
Right. It's about time we did our meter moment of the week, isn't it? So take it away, Johnny.
Okay, this week it comes from La Rochelle versus Racing, and they went coast to coast quite freakishly. Jeremy Sanzel turns the ball over on his 5 meter line, rips the ball off Luke Jones, back row or second row, which he will not want to see again. And then it was like watching something out of Super Rugby. They could normally, or if Paul was captain, they'd have kicked the ball out, but they didn't. They chucked the ball behind their own try line and ran it out. And it was ridiculous. The gas by Raymond Rule links with Brice Dulin and booger it. And Thomas Bergeon goes over. A class piece of play and easily the meter of the moment for this week in the top 14, coast to coast for La Rochelle, and a fairly freakish try. It was awesome. Out
of character from the rest of the game as well. The only try in the game.
Yeah, but that's the magical part in that it was a little bit out of the blue. I think it was Popelin, the replacement 10, that decided to chuck the ball Carlos Spencer-esque behind his own try line, but that's what you need. He's an X-factor player, trying something a little bit different, going a bit off script, adding a bit of spark to the game, and it certainly was a magical moment. So definitely and easily our meter moment of this weekend's top 14 action.
There we go. That was Johnny's meter moment of the week, and Meter is the world's #1 wireless meat thermometer, recently making over 11 million cooks better with their game-changing app and completely wireless Bluetooth meat probe. You can use it on a barbecue, in the oven, or in a pan, and you can get your hands on one at meter.com. Plus, you can get 10% off any full price item with the code FrenchPod10 at checkout as well. And on top of that, we've been running a competition on social media to win 2 tickets to both the Champions and Challenge Cup finals in Marseille in May. So do you want to do the big reveal, Johnny? Tell us who's won.
Yeah, why not? Congratulations to Santiago Garcia Guillen, who will be taking his mate to Marseille for a long weekend. And he also, I love this, because he commented on social media and said, "This is the mate I'm taking." His friend has then commented underneath saying, "Mate, you can't do that. Your missus will divorce you. You're going to get your balls booted. You have to take her. You can't take me." So now you absolutely are taking your best mate. Your missus was probably going to lose you to either a sofa or a bar because you'd be watching it with your mates anyway. So now you can get there in person, thanks to us, enjoy it with one of your best mates, and have an amazing weekend of rugby in Marseille. Santiago, enjoy it. It's on us.
There we go. Congratulations, Santiago. And a full explanation of why we've picked you as well. We hope your relationship is still intact at the end of it, but if not, blame Johnny Beattie.
And that's also an inkling to everyone else in future competitions. Get grafting in there. Say you need a weekend away from your missus and we'll sort it out for you.
Excellent. And let's have a brief chat about the top 14 before we go as well. Some of the other action. You mentioned the La Rochelle game there. We spoke to Paul about Montpellier. You covered the game on Sunday night. Toulouse were able to bring 5 Grand Slam winners off the bench. And the clip of Antoine Dupont has done the rounds. He was pretty impressive when he came on.
The boys are a machine. And weirdly for Toulouse, without their stars, they've looked really shorn of confidence. They lost 6 on the bounce when they were away, and it was really difficult. But the ovation that those boys got when they came off the bench at the weekend was incredible. Marchand, Cros, Dupont and Tamac. And they just did enough. Again, it wasn't an easy game. Lyon were actually very well organised and hard to break down. But that will do them so much for their confidence. The fact that it hasn't been there and they've lost these tight games, but these guys are now back. And this now is the race for them to finish as high up as they can in the top 14 for the playoffs. And so they just got over the line. Again, Julien Marchand basically changed the game with an awesome line break with Antoine Dupont, who was playing like Hulk again. The guy just doesn't stop. But yeah, you get the feeling that they just need a bit of confidence back in camp. These guys to bring it back from Six Nations, confidence, settle a little bit with how they want to play and move on slowly. But as Paul alluded to, there's only 5 games left. So I say build slowly. They've got 5 games left to finish as high up as they can. And certainly with the standards that are being brought back from the French camp, that'll be what they're settling out to do. A top 2 finish, is that possible? I don't know, but certainly to try and get home quarter will be their objective.
Speaking of Toulouse, Leon, we've spoken about this fullback situation for next season at Toulouse before. Yeah. It's not confirmed yet, but Melvin Jaminet has been linked with Toulouse for God knows how long. Ange Capuozzo is reportedly going there as well. If those two do both go there, is Thomas Ramos going to Lyon?
Well, of what I've seen, what I've heard, I don't want to drop names, but people that have told me is that he's actually signed an extension already, Thomas Ramos. But it hasn't been released in the press. Again, with Zach Combs leaving him way up to Bordeaux, they're going to need a second string 10 when Intermac isn't there. So it looks like Thomas Ramos is going to be pushed more into potentially a second string standoff role. That's where he played in cup final against La Rochelle last season as well and did an outstanding job. But yeah, Melvin Jaminet is kind of rumbling on in that he said that he would like to make a break in his contract. The Perpignan presidents come out and said, look, he's got a job to do. If we go down and we're relegated, that becomes automatic. But at the minute, I think there's conversations going on behind closed doors as to if they don't get relegated, what will Toulouse have to pay out in terms of compensation to break his contract and get him there next season. And then, as you mentioned, the new Italian starlet as well, who is Gif potentially joining as well. So look, Toulouse again are going to be fully loaded, it looks like, next season.
And Toulon as well had another good win over Clermont. 5 wins in their last 7 now. Perhaps more interestingly, we're hearing that friend of the show, Sergio Parisse, might be staying on. It's always one more year, isn't it? One more year. And he kind of has in the back of his mind that he might want to finish at the 2023 World Cup, even though he hasn't played since the last one for Italy.
Why not? Like, the guy's still playing well. If mentally he's still got the desire to do it, do another year. Like, he's still playing at a high level every time he takes the field for Toulon in a difficult situation. They haven't been terrific, especially the first 6 months of the season, but the guy still performs week in, week out. And why not? Again, he's setting out a map. It hasn't worked from over the past 12, 24 months with the Italian side, but potentially now some sort of contractual arrangement where he plays for Toulon and is registered. And then if he gets to go, he gets released and he gets to finish with Italy at the World Cup, which would be just what he deserves, because he's been absolutely phenomenal to watch for decades, really. But even more so this season, he's backing it up week in, week out. So fair play. It's phenomenal. And he'd be 40, as you mentioned, just after the World Cup. But yeah, he's still playing like he's 30, which for me isn't old, as we've already mentioned earlier in the show. So fair play.
And another number 8 at the other end of the age and experience scale, but Jordan Joseph scored a hat-trick for Pau in their win over Perpignan. Could he be one of the players that obviously goes to Japan with France, shines there, and maybe sticks his hand up as a real claim for a place at the 2023 World Cup?
Potentially. I mean, he's been so good since moving to Pau. His performances have been great. The difficulty is going to be getting into that World Cup squad is going to depend on injuries, because you've got Olivon coming back to fitness. There's another spot. Jelanche is going to be moved across. Potentially there's another 8. You've got Tolofua as well, who's performed at 8 for France. So the question is he better than those guys that you've currently already got in there and are absolutely flying? Could he be a bolter? I think a lot of water still to run under the bridge, but the way he's been performing this season has been a massive step up. But can he do it consistently over the next 12 months, that will define whether he goes or not. But it would be really interesting. I think he'd be a good shout as a bolter to go on this summer tour and gain some experience with the coaching setup that France have. And potentially the World Cup, who knows? But there's a lot of rugby still to be played between now and then.
And finally, Derby weekend in the top 14 this weekend, isn't it, really? So any in particular that stand out?
I'll be up working at Racing and Stade Francais, which is massive. One on a personal note that I love being part of was Cast Toulouse as well. That is an enormous game of rugby, especially when it's in Cast and you've got all of Toulouse's rock stars coming back. And then Bordeaux against La Rochelle is possibly the biggest one in the clash for top 6 places as well. Two sides that have battled really after starting the season in great shape, but over the past 6 weeks have really toiled. And that's without losing too many big names. So Bordeaux, La Rochelle, I think is probably the biggest clash and probably going to be the most interesting game this weekend. And then obviously Paul's going to be down in Perpignan in the Catalan region with Montpellier. So look, there's loads of huge games to look forward to this weekend. And most of them will be shown on Premier Sports.
Can't wait for those. Thanks, Johnny. A big thanks to Paul Willemse for joining us, and a massive thanks to all you guys for listening as well. Hit subscribe, leave us a nice review if you can as well. Check us out on Rugby Pass and on YouTube, and we'll be back with another episode next week. Au revoir, Johnny.
Cheers, mate.